Sean Strickland pulled off one of the most surprising title fight upsets in UFC history at UFC 293 in Sydney when he shocked Israel Adesanya with a unanimous decision win to become the 13th undisputed middleweight champion. Just an unbelievable performance from Strickland in this fight. He set the tone late in the first round by scoring a huge knockdown, the first person to ever drop Adesanya truly inside the octagon, nearly finished it there, and at that point, the confidence, the flow, everything was firing on all cylinders. He continued to work a perfect strategy, in my opinion, of keeping the pace high, keeping the distance close, and really countering well off of Adesanya's attacks. And that leads to him winning 4 of the 5 rounds, getting his hand raised and getting that title wrapped around his waist. Just shocking stuff, unbelievable performance. Strickland said it himself that the amount of talk he does, how outspoken he is, has a lot of people underestimating his abilities when he gets in that octagon. But on the biggest stage and the biggest moment in a spot he wasn't even supposed to be in originally, he gets the job done, and it is now a new era at 185 pounds, and is the Sean Strickland era, which many people probably never saw coming, never expected to come, but it is here, it is happening, and it's going to be an interesting ride forward. It seems like UFC President Dana White already keen on running a rematch between these two. It's just going to come down to the timing of whether it makes sense. Does Adesanya want to get right back in there? This is a huge fight for his legacy if he does get the rematch. And if he tries to rush it, that could potentially be a mistake given how active he's being, given the number of championship fights he's had in recent years. Perhaps some time off would be the smarter move. Maybe let Strickland fight someone else in the meantime. If he wins, you can still do the rematch. If he loses, well, I'm sure it would be to a big-time opponent. You would have to assume, if it's not Adesanya challenging Strickland for that belt, it would have to be Dricus du Plessis, who is the deserving #1 contender given his run inside the octagon and his recent finish of Robert Whittaker. I think that is a fascinating fight between Strickland and du Plessis. If they wanted to do that, I would be all for it. But of course, Adesanya's championship ledger, the fact that he is a big name, I assume he is probably option A for the UFC to get in there and do this next fight for Strickland's first defense, but it may not happen. And if it doesn't, there's a lot of great secondary options for Strickland at this point. You could maybe do a Jared Cannonier rematch as well. Of course, he weighed in as the backup, so no shortage of possibilities here. But the biggest fight, the one that for Strickland now being the champion, who will get pay-per-view points, that is the biggest money fight for him, and one that if he could beat Adesanya again would really be a legacy define her, show this was not a fluke by any stretch and that he is the rightful better fighter. So we are reeling from the Sean Strickland title win, but it is going to be a curious path forward for him, and I assume his next fight is going to be against Adesanya in a big one, but we will see what happens.